Hi guys, it's me Alex. Happy Monday. And today we're going to be talking about challenges in trucking industry. We're going to have two guests which have been in trucking for more than 30 years. So probably we can call them veterans of the trucking industry. Very active members of this industry. People who try to change trucking for the better. So let's see if we can ask them a bunch of questions, see their opinion, maybe share their mission, and just talk about trucking in general. Trucking, which was there 30 years ago, 10 years ago, trucking yesterday, trucking today, and trucking tomorrow. So I'm going to bring our guests. Please make sure, guys, you ask questions, like, comment. So I'm introducing to you our guest. I think right here is Lee and Lisa Schmitt. Hi, guys. How are you?
Good. How
Hi.
are you?
I'm good. We are so glad to have you here in our live studio. And let's start with your personal introduction and why did you got to trucking? Why you still in trucking? What is your story? Are you guys owner operators? Do you have company? I mean, your story. Whoever wants
Uh,
to start first.
I'll start first. I started back in 1988 when you had a chauffeur's license, and I started locally hauling hopper bottom and tanker, and sprayers going by right now. Um, I did that for a year and a half, and then I switched to dry van and did that for probably a year, and then I tried reefer for a little while, and in 91, 92 ish, right in that area, I started open deck, just flatbed, nothing big,
Mhm.
and running steel coils out of Chicago back up to Milwaukee all the time, and Illinois and Ohio, all around. And then in 94, I started oversize. In 96, we bought our first truck. And I think this is my fifth or sixth truck we've had, and we've been doing all oversize most of the time up until this past winter. We did reefer for a few months to try something different, and no, we went back to open deck.
So since you're right here, we're gonna pick on some information from you. So you had six trucks, you are owner. What is your first choice? Which truck do you prefer? The make. I'm talking about Freightliner, Volvo, Peterbilt. What is would be your favorite one?
Not the one I have.
Okay, so
I'm older now, and I
Mhm.
want more comfort. When I was younger, I wanted the looks, I wanted the hood, I wanted the lights, I wanted the chrome. Um, I've had Peterbilt and Kenworth all the time, but now that I'm older, I still own a Peterbilt, and but I would like either a Western Star or a Volvo just for comfort and room because I am older and we live in northern Wisconsin. So in the winter, both of us wear clothes that are way too big to fit between the seats in the Peterbilt, and I just want comfort. But the finance department on the other end of the camera says no, we got this one all rebuilt, so we keep this one.
okay, so now we know who is the boss. So let's go to the big boss. Lisa, why trucking? Okay, let's say your husband was in trucking. Wasn't it easy just to send him on the road and kind of enjoy your life at home and just counting money as a financial boss? Why did you decide to go with him?
I can count money in the truck too. I don't have to be home to count money. It's easier to spend when I'm home. He trucked while we had the kids at home. And actually, when they were about 12, 13, he went back to trucking. He took a few years off to be with them when they were little. And then when the last kid went out of the house, I sat home for 4 months by myself, and it was lonely and it was boring because I was out in the country on 40 acres, and he was lonely and bored out in the truck. So I decided I didn't get married to sleep alone. I understood
So,
I had to stay home while we had kids, but
did you get CDL?
no, no, there's a few reasons for that. I did pass the permit test without ever opening a book. So I could go and get it very short term if I wanted to. I prefer to sit in the passenger seat and look pretty. That's a full-time job.
Come on,
But
Lisa,
I
let's be realistic. If you have CDL, he can start faking logbook.
No, because I won't be able to be hired on with a carrier until I have my CDL for 2 or 3 years. So I won't be able to be insured. And I help strap and I help chain and secure our oversized loads. I help watch permits. I'm going to tell you, got in the truck 8 years ago. And from then until now, there's a huge difference. It takes 4 eyes on that road when we have an oversized load. You know, I've got to help watch people and signs, and he's watching on his side because people are maniacs out there. They'll drive right under our load and not understand.
Between you and him, who is usually makes the deals? Let's say you come to the shipper or receiver and it takes forever. Are you the one who goes and sweet talks, or he's the one who goes and is like, what's going on, guys? Why are we not getting loaded? We have to go. Who is the one who goes and smoothes this out?
This is how it works. I say to him, why are we still sitting here? Or like when we're negotiating a load, can we get more money? And then he makes the phone call and goes in and says it. But it's me that pushes him to do it, you know?
Okay. So
but now, hold on. There is one misconception. In our line of work compared to van and reefer, when we show up at a shipper or a receiver and they say show up at said time, they are happy to see us. They talk to us. If there is a delay on their side, they come right out. Hey, something happened. There's a delay. We're going to be a little bit. They don't keep you in the dark. When we do open deck and oversize, there's a lot of communication two-way.
Because it's a lot of permits. They need sometimes special cranes. They need team to unload load. So that's why it's a little bit different. So for new dispatchers who listen to this, guys, it's just because they are working with specialized equipment and oversized commodities. So usually it's not that many people who do that. So shippers and receivers kind of kissing their little butts. Oh, you're here. For sure you're here. You're going to take this somewhere. So they are lucky. Okay. Let me ask you this. So being in the, like you said, that small cabin driving together, does it kind of get sometimes to the point that you are 24/7 with each other, and sometimes one of you have that mental breakdown, like, you know what, maybe this week just stay home. I just want to have a little peace of mind, stay with kids. Or sometimes you start fighting for no reason. I mean, come on, we all fight, right? But you're in a small truck, so nobody can just walk away to other room. Does it happen? Like, be honest. Because we are here a reality show, right? We tell how it is.
It doesn't happen like people think, because we are together all the time. Where are you going to go? You can't go anywhere. You can't slam the door. There is no door. So there's just a curtain, which there isn't that anymore either. So you have to deal with it. Do we get upset with one another? Yeah. Is it quiet once in a while? Yeah. I'd be lying if I said people don't get mad when you're that close. You deal with it. There might be a day or two it's real quiet in the cab. Oh, well.
Okay. What is your, when you guys have free time? I mean, let's say we have to sleep for 10 hours, but some people don't. Do you do like some kind of maybe playing games, or you go on internet? Do you have like something just you like to do while trucking? Like, is there any hobbies? Is there any missions? Is there something you guys get involved besides just being on the road?
I did get him to take me to the Grand Canyon last year, and that was absolutely fun. We could bobtail through the park. We got to pull off and see different things. With our trailer now, it's very hard. I mean, we can never do it when we're under a load, obviously. And when we get done at the end of the night, I'm going to be honest with you, we're exhausted. We've got a grill and we've got cooking equipment, and most times we're not even in the mood to cook when we're done. So we go in the restaurant to eat.
Lisa, you cooking? So you guys cooking in the truck? Like, what?
Well, we both cook. He cooks on the grill, and we've got a big flat griddle, a Blackstone flat griddle. We'll set that up on the trailer, and he'll cook and I'll cook. We have an Instapot. We have a Galan's 3-in-1 air fryer, microwave, convection oven, and we cook in there. I can make chocolate chip cookies going down the road. It's pretty awesome. And
Seriously?
I've done that. Yes, yes. And sometimes the wife will bring pre-boiled eggs from home, and she'll make deviled eggs while we're going down the road, and that's a treat for him because we have our own chickens at home. So yeah, giving
So
him snacks and things.
do you guys go all 48 states or you stay in certain region?
I go where I can carry a weapon. If I, that's honest to God's truth. If I can't carry my weapon in that state, I don't go there. I don't go to New York. I don't go to New Jersey.
Okay, but let's say from Wisconsin, you go all the way to Dallas. What you telling me that each state allows you to carry the weapon? Wisconsin,
Yes.
Illinois, Indiana, we have Missouri, we have Oklahoma.
Yep.
Illinois lets you carry it, but not the way we carry it. It is what it is. I'm not going to die over a load. I will protect myself.
So
And
let's
if that
go
means
back for 30 years of being on the road. Have you ever experienced that feeling unsafe and had a
Yes.
situation when you kind of like, you know what, maybe I will need to reach out to that gun, or maybe I need to make sure that I protect myself, my wife. Have it happen? Did it happen?
Yes.
How often?
Yes. That happened once, and that shortly after that, I quit pulling reefer. It happened in the south side of Chicago, right around 73rd Street. At a stoplight, I pulled up, and the car pulled up behind me. When I took off at the stoplight and turned right, my reefer door swung around. They had broke into my reefer. 2 blocks later, I turned into where I was delivering, and that was double high wire with Constantina wire, which is barbed wire with razors at the top. Security guard was there. He said, "Stay in your truck." I pulled in, and he opened up the door, the other door, locked them, and he had me back in. Then they escorted me in. And on the way walking in, there was 4 shots went off. And I just freaked out. And he's like, "This happens all the time here." And it was shortly after that I quit hauling reefer. I don't even go to Chicago.
Well, Chicago, yeah, it's can be a great city, but it's can be dangerous. So while we were talking about this dangerous situation, I have a little data. So average expectancy for American man is 78. But look at this. For American truck driver is 61. So trucking is still in 17 years of truck drivers. So do you think, what is the biggest challenges mental health wise? Why is it so big difference? 17 years, it's a big chunk of life. So what do you think personally? What takes that away? Why truck drivers have this low number? 61 is low.
The regulations from the government that we're trying to jump through hoops on.
So we'll talk about stress level, right? So stress level, trying to go through the system, trying to cut corners, trying to stress level. What else?
With what we deal with traffic on the highways, and in my sector, the oversize industry, that's another level of stress.
Okay, so all the time paying attention, having that liability on your shoulders, right? Because you responsible for everybody around you. Then probably, so we're talking about probably health and food, right? Because I mean, you guys cook, but a lot of people don't cook, and they buy that processed food, not healthy food, right? Probably not be able to do physical activities because we spend how many hours a truck, right? So physical activities. Okay, what about mental breakdowns? What do you think? Is that a real issue, or people just making it up?
I personally think it can happen. Go ahead, Lisa.
You have to be of a certain mindset to be alone in your truck all day long. And I have to say, the older generations, they did it to be alone. They understood what it was. But the younger generations that are used to being around people all the time and not away from their family, that is a hardship on them, being away from their friends and family. You know, within a couple of months, your friends and family, they go on with their life and you don't get to participate. You miss your kids' birthdays. You miss all the events on the weekends. That does take its toll on people. And I've noticed that a lot more drivers are communicating with other drivers. They used to communicate on the CB, and now it's like through TikTok, you see a lot of lot of lives with truck drivers where they're communicating with each other. So that's helping.
Okay, so that's how. But do you think that trucking industry as general, let's say government, local agency, do we have support for truck drivers when they really have that mental breakdown? Do we really have enough agencies who driver can reach out to? Because I don't really know that many. We have some few 800 numbers, but not specifically just for truck drivers. Don't you think that this is something which kind of has to be brought to the public, and maybe we need to talk about it and kind of give examples what's sometimes going on?
We, as you know, Lee and I are with CDL Drivers Unlimited, our alliance. We
Mhm.
actually are releasing this month a drivers crisis center. I don't know much about it because the other people are handling that. Lee and I are more on the advocacy side, but Stephen Myers is the chairman of the crisis committee, and they've got a whole setup going on for drivers. And they will offer therapy while you're in your truck if you need therapy. Call a doctor and get a prescription, monetary help, all different kinds of help that you can go to. And I know that one of their goals is to have a operating phone line 24 hours a day.
Okay.
And that would be talking with counselors and actual drivers that are able to counsel you. I know Stephen Myers has talked to people that were on the verge of committing suicide, and he can relate to them because truck driver can relate to a truck driver. So he actually talked some people down and then got further help for them afterwards.
Okay. So let's go back, since you already mentioned the CDL drivers, I mean the unlimited. What is this? Like, you guys, let's go a little bit back. You used to run your own show, right?
We
We
ran
had
our
a
own.
radio show.
Okay. What was that show about?
So if you go back even farther than that, Lee and I started in trucker advocacy in 2017. I have pictures of us standing in front of the Rayburn House in Washington, D.C. with a cardboard sign. We went to D.C. thinking we were going to stop the ELD. Well, we all know how that worked. Um, then we learned of more and more issues because before 2017, we all just did our job, right? We didn't really pay attention to the government and what they wanted. We just did our job. And then we started looking into how the government gets their regulations formed and working with Congress. And Lee and I started the radio show to educate drivers and the general public. We also have a Facebook page called Trucking Across America with the Schmitts that I started when I got in the truck to educate the public about what us truck drivers go through. And so the radio show was more to educate truck drivers about the regulations that were coming down on us, situations that were coming down on us, and how we could, as an industry, fight those things together. So we did that, I don't know, a total of about 3 years on and off. And then we just got a little burnt out and just needed to do our own thing for a while. And we'll still help any driver. My husband knows the Green Book very, very well. So drivers call him when they want to know about a regulation. And my thing, my favorite passion is the comment periods. When a regulation comes out, I'm the one that explains to people how to make your comment so that your voice is heard. So back about 3 years ago, a couple of brothers reached out to us, and they were starting a truck driver alliance. And they talked about it. I was on the phone with David for 3 hours. You know how that is. And
Yeah, I
when
know
I
how.
hung up the
I,
phone,
I know I know both of them, so we can talk a long time.
right, right. And so when I hung up the phone to Lee, I said, we need to get in on this at ground level. Because when we get fully established, we're just brand new. When we get fully established, we will literally blow a white out of the water. We have so many different programs that all drivers, there's something for everyone here.
So far, I see that you have topics as wins for drivers. So what does that include? Wins for drivers. So is that with all the regulations like speed limiters, all of that? What is that wins for drivers?
The wins will be anything that we do defeat from the government or state level, anything along that line. Right now, there's not too many wins because government is still doing what they're doing, and we're trying to fight, but there is a process when they get your answer to when they respond to you as to whether or not it worked. So everything that is out right now by the government, we have responded to as CDLDU, and we're just waiting for responses back.
Okay. Let me
We have had.
Hold on, Lisa. Let me ask you this, Lee. Do you think that wins are gonna come more often when truckers get united?
Yes. Yes.
Okay.
Because there's power in numbers. If the government sees the drivers stop fighting and working together. A good example would be May Day when we were all in DC. You had Ukrainians, you had Russians, you had Cubans, you had Mexicans, whites, all of us, all together fighting for the same cause. For 20 some days, we were sitting there. Nobody argued, nobody fought. And if that would happen throughout the industry, the government would be scared, because then they would realize the drivers put every partisan thing aside and have one common goal. And if that happens, that will scare the government.
And another thing, do you think it has to be only unity of truck drivers, CDL holders, or it's also have to be their family, friends, and general public? Do we need to bring that awareness to regular citizen, understanding how challenging trucking and how important it is in everyday life?
Everybody, normal people, the neighbors down the road that know that I drive truck, they talk to us all the time. What are you guys dealing with? So anybody that anybody knows that's related to a truck driver or family, if all of the citizens, like we say, if we all just got 8 people to join CDL DF, which is Drivers and Friends, that's free. Okay, you get 10,000 drivers. Now you've got 80,000 friends and family over there. Then the government starts seeing, hey, these people are all starting to get involved in all of this. That does make them nervous. Yeah, so it's everybody.
Yeah, so here I am, because I did join as a friends and family just to see how it's going to work. So guys, it is free. And you can still look at all the stuff, right? What they do, chats, nudes, givebacks, what topics they have, like parking, speed limiters, education. Then they have a lot of things for the health and wellness. Of course, this is in the process, guys. They just started. It takes few years to grow and actually cover all the basics. But main thing is that you can be just a friend. You can be just a citizen. Maybe you don't have anybody in trucking, but you can still support this mission. But when you hang up that phone, was it just because David and his brother, they're good salespeople, they've been selling all their life, or why did you choose them? What was what really
my reason is because we can help steer it in the direction that drivers think it needs to be in. All of CDLDU is ran by drivers. David and Jim are the back office. Okay. Wherever we decide to go, that is all dictated by all the drivers that are on the committees and council. If we want to chase a black truck going down the road, if we want to go after black trucks, and I'm using that just because that went by, if that's what the committees all decide, that's where we're going, because it's all steered by us, not by no outside people. So it's drivers steering CDLDU where we want to go.
So then I'm going to ask you this question. The driver's going to say, well, Lee, why do I have to pay? I don't know, how much is this? $15 a month? How much is it? 15?
$15 a month.
$15. They're going to say, why it's not free? Can you explain us where the money going to go from those memberships?
So much of that money goes back to keep the free side open for the general public to get out there. The rest of that money goes back in for the back office that is helping doing research, different legal fees if they come up, everything else that is involved in fighting the government, wherever level you have to fight them.
Lobbying takes money, lawyers takes money, research takes money, right?
Yes,
And
all
that's
of that
why,
takes money.
yeah, that's why I want to tell people that if you have a big kind of war, I call it a war against government, without financial, you cannot go against any government, because we do need to have money to hire the lawyers, to have researchers, to make sure that we know how to fight against them. I mean, that would be ideal, just get together and we're going to go and stand with those signs. But so many times we already fail, right? We go there, we
Right.
sit there for a week, for two. Sometimes people sit there longer and everybody gets disappointed. So you think if we can hit the numbers, what would be a realistic number that we can start actually having that impact?
We're having an impact now with the members that we have, because when you guys were talking about wins a few minutes ago, our first trip into Washington, D.C. in February was a huge win, because where we went to the FMCSA and we went to a lot of congressmen, told them that they needed to start listening to truck drivers because we are the largest stakeholder in the supply chain. And they all kind of opened up their eyes and said, well, why you and not ATA, or why you and not OIDA? And I told them, because you're talking to the people that actually drive the trucks for the living. I looked around the room and I said, these guys were in a truck last week and they will be in a truck on Monday morning when we go back to work. So that is a huge win. I don't know an exact number, but I do know that just having CDL Drivers Unlimited, we've already made an impact with people. We've had congressmen reach out to us looking for information, and we've given them information.
Well, we have different associations, we have different, whatever, women in trucking, ONEDA, NADRA, everything else. Do you think that we need to realize that some wins we need to get together? We can belong to different associations. For example, that's what I always say. I can be a part of CDL Unlimited. I can be part of NADRA. I can be part of Women in Trucking because I do support women in trucking. I am a woman in trucking. Do you think that people have that misrepresentation that we just have to pick one and have these wars against each other? Or should we finally kind of live in nowadays technology, open our minds and understand that some things we need to fight all together without dividing, without trying to say, oh, we're gonna win this, CDL Unlimited gonna win this, oh, ONEDA gonna win this, oh, women in trucking. What do you think, Lisa? Do you think that together we're gonna have more power and we can find those grounds, like being separated but on some level being united?
If we're all fighting for the same goal, like Lee tells everyone that he talks to, join every organization that you can. When we went to DC in May, we were working with 2 other organizations giving our solutions to the congressman. And that made us look even more important because we had more numbers behind us. So yeah, if we can all work together, that's great.
Okay.
Speaking of a win, I want to go back to that. When we were in DC in May, we testified in front of the Transportation Research Board. We were asked to come in, so we flew in for that. And while we were there, we dropped off packets to 45 different senators, Congress, on the Transportation Committee. And then we flew back to Arizona, and Monday morning, Lisa emailed 92 out to the rest of all the committee members or anybody that had anything to do with transportation. And 4 days later, Congressman Bost was running around with a paper that him and Mike Braun ordered FMCSA to look into fraud and everything else that's being perpetrated. So we did have a win. It's little, because it didn't generate anything other than a letter saying, hey, have FMCSA and Office of Inspector General and look into this. But it's at least they acknowledge there's a problem.
Okay. And I do believe you guys have a system. Anybody who signs up, they can go to their, for example, if I'm in Illinois, my information can go to my senator, right? So you guys gonna be actually generating like whatever, some petitions
I
and
can explain
everything.
it.
Okay, if you can explain that in
Yep.
details.
Yep. That's the free part. And the website is cdldf.org. The
Okay.
website for the professional drivers is cdldu.com. Okay, so for drivers and friends, it's
Okay, hold
cdl
on. I'm gonna put it right now. So it's CDL. Tell me.
du.com.
Mhm.
That's the professional drivers.
Okay.
And cdldf.org is the
Okay.
free part for drivers and friends. And when you sign up for that, you will get geolocated to your representatives in Washington, D.C. and at your state level. And one of the things that we have the ability to do is send out a text to all the members of the free part. And here's an example. The drivers really need parking. We would really like you to support the parking bill. If you agree, please click send now. And those people do not need to pick up the phone and call their representative. They don't need to send an email. They just need to click send now on their phone, and it automatically sends the message to their representatives in Washington, D.C. And so if there's members in every single district, every single congressman or senator will get that exact same message at the exact same time. So
And of
that's
course they have
powerful.
to respond. And of course they have to respond, because when they get those
That's their
those
constituents.
yeah, they have to respond. So this way you guys kind of
Right.
covering all states and all the districts, right? So the more
Yes.
members,
Right.
you have, the more senators or whatever you can get involved, and they have to do their job, because this is their job to listen to their voters, right?
Constituents.
Yes.
Yep.
And
Yep.
it helps a lot of the congressmen and senators get nervous when all the constituents in their district start sending letters to them, versus you or just us two going talking to our little guy. That's not much. But now you take 70 people in my town send a letter, and then the next town over, and this 5,000 people in his district, all of a sudden he might start looking into things.
Yeah, and then if he doesn't respond, well, you have proof that it was sent, let's say in May, then it was sent in July, and then it was sent in September, and then again, elections do come again, right? And
Yep.
it doesn't look that good, and it's actually can be. I mean, this is a public knowledge, and if you go and you start talking about it, well, this is a realistic things which going on. Okay,
We
sounds
will
good.
vote them out.
We-
If they do not stand with truckers, we will campaign to vote them out.
Okay, let's talk about this. So, what's going on with this rule, speed limiters? So, what is your personal opinion as a driver, Mr. Lee? Before we get into all things which going on, do you think this is a good idea or bad? And give me two reasons. If it's good, why? If it's bad, why?
It's a bad idea, and I can give you more than two, but I'll stop at two, because now you're going to have somebody's truck is going to have a little more power in a hill. Even if we're all cut back to 60 mile an hour, I got more power to climb a hill, so that the guy I'm trying to pass is going to slow down. I'm going to get next to him, and all of a sudden I run out of power. Now we're going to be bogging everything up. The other thing is FMCSA is not allowed to legally put this on trucks, because they cannot mandate speed limiters on trucks when that is a state's right issue. The federal government gave it back to the states in 1995. FMCSA is circumventing them and saying we're going to fine the carriers $10,000 to $11,000 if the drivers don't do this by using your ELD. ELD is not allowed to be used to be tracked for speed. ELD is used for keeping track of hours of service. That is it. You want to change it, you have to change map 21.
Okay. And since it was given to the states, every state has to agree to give it back to federal government, right?
Yes, and that's where they're circumventing them, and they're putting it under the guise of safety, and it's not right. They
Okay.
don't have the power to do this. So us as an alliance is doing everything we can do to slow this down. Actually, Josh Brakeen, a House Congressman in Oklahoma, introduced HR 3039, which strips the power from the FMCSA. He's looking for more co-sponsors, so that's something all the viewers can reach out to your congressperson to have them co-sponsor Josh Brakeen's HR 3039, which stops FMCSA from doing this. Yes, it's the Drive Act. And
Okay, go ahead.
it can stop this all the way up to the day of implementation. So.
Okay. But also as an insurance agent and knowing the data, when we really look at the data of everybody think that it's always trucks' fault, but this is not true. This is not, if you really look into the data, actually the truckers' fault is way lower than everybody's other trucks, the general public. But this is such a big misrepresentation and misconception. And I really think that people need to have that kind of looked into, because this is a really dishonest misrepresentation. Because if you talk to my neighbor, he says, oh, truckers, they always cut me off, they always do this, but actually it's opposite. What do you think as a driver?
I'm going to tell you that 85% of the crashes are the fault of the four-wheeler if they involve a truck. So if you read the whole speed limiter proposal, there's no data in there showing that it will be safe. My husband's getting on me because he wanted me to show you this paper here. I don't know if you can see it. And what this says, I'm going to read you the stats off of it. In 2020, there was 35,766 fatalities for all vehicles. 4,444 of those involved large trucks. 2,890 of those involved combination trucks. And only 272 times were those large combination trucks at fault. So it's not our fault. We were at fault less than 1% of the time. The problem is the FMCSA is tasked with, it's called the Federal Motor Carrier Safety Administration. They're tasked with safety of motor carriers and the drivers out on the road. What else are they going to do but regulate truck drivers to justify their existence?
Well, they should worry about parking, which we don't have enough, right? They should worry about maybe not regulating those hours of service, because I do not agree with 10 hours of sleeping and then 34-hour reset. I don't. In America now, let's say, how many people have 2 jobs, 3 jobs? Do we sleep 10 hours a day? We don't have that luxury. Do we have 34-hour restart? No. To support a family nowadays, some people have to work 12 hours, 16 hours. I would agree maybe to mandatory 7 hours and maybe 24 hours reset, but not 34, not 10 hours. I mean, what do you think? I mean, you're a driver. See, for me, I cannot really justify that. But for you as a driver, do you think that 34 hours mandatory is a good idea, and that 10 hours?
It depends what sector of the industry you're in. Oil field only has to have a 24-hour restart.
I mean, let's talk about general,
General, no, I don't agree with it. I don't agree with any of it. As a matter of fact, we actually had an hours of service proposal in last year. Year to date was yesterday, a year ago, that allowed you to eliminate the 14-hour clock and drive your 11 hours whenever I see fit, because I'm not a child.
Yeah.
Just whenever I see fit, and just keep going. So that got denied because one of the reasons was if they gave it to me, they'd have to give it to everybody. They actually said that. But no, I don't agree with that. I'm an adult. When I'm tired, I'll pull over and go to bed. I think they need to regulate the newer drivers that don't know But after a certain amount of time, we're not children. We're supposed to be professionals. If we can't decide when to go to bed or when to drive, then you need to get out of this industry.
But don't you think because of that rules, actually we do have more faking and people trying to speed up to make sure that he doesn't have violation on ELD because he needs to find the parking, that people
Yeah.
actually violate more rules now with the ELD than before because of like,
Yeah.
you know, I mean, you don't want to have that red violation because it stays there for 8 days. So if you need 40 minutes and you only have 30, well, the 10 minutes, the poor driver is trying to speed up so he doesn't have that violation.
Oops, where'd she go?
Uh-oh, we lost her.
It's just you and
We're
I
still
now, hon.
here.
We'll just take
Yes.
over her show.
I do agree that drivers speed more because of the 14-hour clock, and they should not get penalized for going over on their ELD. I have done it. I know multiple people have done it, and the way around it is you just annotate what the problem was.
Well, it takes an average of 56 minutes out of a trucker's day to find parking. Some will take more, some will take less. That's an average. So that's time that we're missing out of our pay looking for a parking spot. And drivers are still speeding in truck stops. How many truck drivers have gotten killed in truck stops in the past couple of years? Because drivers are speeding, trying to get, they've got 2 minutes left on their clock and they got to get back into that spot. There's been drivers killed and, like you said, the speeding on the roads because they just have a few minutes left.
Or getting in fights for the parking spot, right?
Right.
Okay.
Right.
Yeah.
Well, let's go back to this issue. So we all know that everybody talks about brokers, right? And everybody thinks, well, we do not have the rule to show this transparency, but we do. This rule exists. Like it is rule 371.3 that brokers have to keep the records, and if carrier would like to see that, well, they should be transparent. So what is your take on that issue?
Nope.
Now
we lost Lee.
Now we lost because we having StreamYard is having issues today. So Lisa, now you have to take over until he's gonna get connected.
Got it. I got it.
Go ahead.
It's a law in the books. It's been a law for a number of years, and there's a reason for that. Transparency. We will be able to negotiate better and make better choices on brokers. Where do you hire in your life outside of trucking? Where do you hire someone to fix your car or to fix your refrigerator and you don't know how much it's costing you? Where does that happen? Only in trucking. Do I book a load without knowing what it costs? And there's guys out there that say, well, if you get the rate you want, you shouldn't care what the other guy's making. And I'm going to give you an example, and I'll use you knowing, that you furnish loads. If you booked a load that the shipper paid you $10,000 for, but you sold it to me for $4,000 and I was making, $4 or $5 a mile, I'm okay with that. But if I find out you made more money than I did, I would be pissed. I really would. And I probably wouldn't use you anymore. And I would tell all my friends that you got me a load where you made more money than I did. That's where the transparency comes in.
It's so funny because with the cheap rates nowadays, when we talk about loads, like when they post and they're like, oh, we paying $700. Like, what do you mean $700? It's like $2 per month. He's like, well, because we only getting 1,000. So you paying for 350 miles, 700, and you making 300. So even right here, it seems like only 1,000 we're talking, but you making 300, and the driver with his operational cost, what is he making? Doing this for you so you can make 200, he's making maybe $75, if that. So this is just like a nonsense. So what happened when you guys went to DC, when you guys were in Mid-America show? Like, was this ever brought up? Was about transparency, and what was the response of FMCSA?
I actually
FMCSA.
Are you going to speak or
Go
am I
ahead.
going to?
Go ahead.
I actually asked to talk about it first at Matt's, and I got up there and I had a list of questions that we had given them before we got in there. And we just were talking about it, and I asked them point blank if they have ever audited a broker like they audit a driver after they get their authority. And the response was no. And one of the reporters about fell out of his chair. He said in all the years he's been there, he's never heard them interact with the drivers or anybody there. So I was able to keep going with them on that. They don't consider it a priority. They look at it as a safety issue. And I turned it around on them and said, dealing with brokers is a safety issue because if the drivers are getting paid the correct amount of money to maintain their equipment and have decent equipment, that falls back on you. So
because
that was
we cannot run charity business because we have equipment to maintain. We have to make sure we can afford that insurance instead of trying to maybe cancel physical because we cannot afford. So actually it goes back right to the safety, because how many drivers in this market cannot afford and maybe fix those brakes or change those tires until they try to hope for the miracle. So this is actually the number one safety issue with, because, and my questions always to brokers is, why do you want me to be a charity carrier? And they're like, oh, if you don't want it, somebody else will take. But don't they know the operational cost nowadays? Well, they know this. So why some of them, and this is another situation, because we got so many new brokers that they just try to go and bid and bid and bid, and they just some of them they don't even make that much money, but they just try to get that load to make their $50, $200, $300 without even thinking, this guy who is doing the main job, is he even able to do this? So, and this is why I'm like, I getting pissed, I get direct, I can start using bad words when I talk to them, and people say, oh, you so mean, you so rude, because it just goes back to, like, guys, it has to be fair. We have three parties, right? Let's say we have carriers, we have drivers, we have brokers, we have shippers. I mean, we are all in here not to just play games. Everybody has family to support, right? So everybody has to make some kind of profit, stable profit. But the truck drivers are the one who are on the road every day, the ones who do not sleep at home, the one who do not eat at home, the one who have to drive and drive and drive, and who have to deal with the safety issues and not showering maybe for 2 days. So why? I mean, truck drivers have to be compensating the most in this kind of chain.
But I want to add something to all of this. Not all brokers are bad. And I said that when I was at Matt's. I said, not all brokers are bad. I have dealt with brokers for years, certain ones. I don't even ask one broker I deal with for a rate con. When he calls me and says, I got this load, I just go. I don't even, there's been 2 days before I find out what the load even paid, because I've dealt with him for so long that I know whatever I get is going to be good. On the other hand, there is bad brokers that don't know.
But again, your situation is a little bit different because you're dealing with a specialty equipment. You are oversized. So your story is different. You have certain amount of brokers who deal with that as well. So
but the thing I want your brokers to remember who deal with you, that on the van and reaper side, do not think that all freight is the same or all rate to run per mile is the same. The government says average rate right now to run your truck is $2.25. I think that's average cost. I won't even think about starting my truck for $2.25. You know, even if it's a legal load, because my expenses are more. My equipment costs more money. My mile per gallon costs more money. I got $2 million insurance. Everything on my end costs more money. So I want your people that you deal with in brokers, if they see any open deck loads, they're oversized or anything like that.
I mean, permits itself, you have to get permits, you know.
Yes, they need to understand that there's a lot of costs associated with it. You know, and I'll give you an example. I can just throw this out there. There might be a load, some of your drivers or brokers might see a load on a load board somewhere paying $20,000 and think that is phenomenal. Okay, based on the size of it, and the weight and where it's going, by the time you pay your police, your permits and escorts and everybody else, now you have to pay your percentage to the carrier your lease to, and fuel and all the expenses. By the time it's all done, I might only get $3,000.
But also because of going through different states, your transit is longer, because in some states you cannot drive during the day. In some states you need the police. So even if you
Yes.
you look at the map and it's like, oh, it's going to be done in 3 days. No, it's not.
No.
Sometimes it's going to take you 7 days. So that's why that 20,000 after all of this is going to become kind of what other people make on other equipment in the same amount of time.
And I only say that to the people that you deal with all the time, because I know you try to do a lot of schooling with people for brokerage and stuff. They need to look at what it is and start dealing with more people like us to get an idea before they go and start bidding all these loads down at the same rate that everything else is for van and reefer. And one side note I wanted to say, if anybody saw that Matt's interview with me and FMCSA, Larry Miner kept asking me, what is a good rate, average good rate? And I would not tell him what I make, but I did tell him something I've lived by for a long time, and I want everybody to listen to this. If a lane is going from Wisconsin to Texas, average fuel cost in that lane is $3.35 a mile. I'm just throwing a number out there. I don't know what it is. The general load should pay $3.35 a mile. If the drivers live by that, and you guys live by that so the drivers can make it, their equipment will be maintained. They will have money to maintain everything, pay the bills, and people will be happy making a living. And I've said that ever since I started trucking. If you can average per mile, whatever that lane is, with general freight, van or reefer, just throw it in, close the doors, and go. Everybody will be able to maintain their equipment. The brokers will be making a percentage. The drivers will be making good money. Everybody will be happy. And that's kind of what I live by when people ask me what's a good rate. Depends what you haul.
When people ask me that, I cannot answer you that, because it all goes to everybody's operational cost.
Yes.
If you've been in business for 10 years, well, your insurance, I know, I mean, we're not talking about you 2 million. Let's say you are back to drive and a reefer, but because you have a CDL for 10 years, because your, let's say, company is 10 years, your insurance cost probably from 10 to 15,000. Somebody who comes new into this business now, well, we're looking at 20 to 27,000. So right there, it's a big difference. Your truck, I don't know when you bought it. Let's say you bought it for 120. Nowadays, a new truck is what? 220, 190. How much is a drive and how much is a reefer? How much do we pay drivers nowadays? How much is all other things? ELD, blah. So the cost for everybody is different. And running dry load, well, you don't have to have a reefer breakdown. Well, you have a reefer. Now you have to maintain that reefer. So it's extra preventive maintenance. It's extra money you need to make sure you have, right? So then you go to tankering doors, then you go to hazmat, then you go to step deck, right? You are in step deck flatbed. You need to invest how much in the equipment all the time, even tarping, right? Physical. So that's why when people are like, what is the good rate? I get it all the time. Alex, I get it because people already know my phone. Should I book this load for this much? Like, first, I don't even know the transit. I don't know how heavy this load, even how heavy is the load, right? It's going to be different fuel consumption. It depends on the transit. Well, the load can be only 300 miles and they are giving you $900. Wow, $3 per mile. But transit, let's say it's a reefer. Pick up today in Wisconsin, let's say Appleton, Wisconsin, go to Columbus, but delivery is going to be in the night receiver at night on Tuesday. You're talking about what? 2 days for 300 miles, minus 10 degrees if it's frozen. So how can you justify? Is it a good rate for me to be? No, it's not. That's not enough. That's why, I get so frustrated. And that's why I teach and try to put the logic in my students' head that they need to put all those little things together. And it's never going to be the same. What is a good rate? Because if that would be, let's say, Lee, if the government says, well, let's make sure if you are dry van, everybody should be at 250. If you are reefer, it has to be, let's say, at 3. If you are oversized, at $4. Can they mandate that and regulate that?
No, they can't.
Then it would not be actually business. That would be mandatory stuff, and everybody has to control. But let's be realistic. Can they even if we're gonna get to this perfect trucking, can they regulate all these third parties? No.
No.
No, they cannot. Can they regulate? So that's why we have so much things going on. And I think that we just need to educate people. But tell me this. Here's a question. Why is trucker turnover is so high?
Lise?
Because they're lied to when they're hired. Drivers are lied to. And that mental stuff that you and I talked about earlier about being away from your family. You know, some guys will try and stay away from their family and they find out it's not for them, they'll quit. Or they find out while they're in training, the pay sucks. I can make more at McDonald's or Walmart. Or they get treated like crap. They're forced to run every minute of that 11 hours. And if their 10 hours is up and they're not driving that truck, the dispatchers are on the phone. Why aren't you moving? Get going. Don't idle that truck. Oh, you're using too much fuel. You're driving bad. They're micromanaged so bad. And here's my biggest thing. And Lee and I have had this discussion before. If they are improperly trained to do this job, they will leave the industry the fastest because they get out there, they're unsafe, they're scared, no one's helping them, they don't feel comfortable, they have 80,000 pounds. The mental, they realize they're responsible for all these lives out here on the highway. And then you got people cutting them off and they realize what idiots we drive around. There is so much reason for turnover. It's huge.
But let's go back to getting that CDL. Do you agree that those schools have to actually have more hands-on practical hours? Because I used to hire drivers for my company all the time. I have a driver who comes to me and he has 2 years of CDL, 3 years. And when I ask, can you do the PTI for me? Some of them cannot even open the hood. They don't know how to open the hood, believe it or not. But they had that CDL for 3 years. They cannot even check if their tires are illegal or not. Some of them just clueless. So don't you agree that that's probably have to be kind of overlooked a little bit?
No, when they come out with the new standards back 2017, I didn't think they were enough. We actually did a radio show on that, comparing the old to what they claim is the new. And I laugh because it consists of about that much in the book that's new, but the things that they should be teaching, well, you just talk about it and that's it. So no, I don't feel that they spend enough time. There should be a lot more time training them.
I had a driver who passed the school. He did not know how to connect trailer to the tractor. Simple as that. Wow. And he's like, I have CDL. And he's like, can somebody help me? I'm like, what do you mean, can somebody help you? You don't know how to connect trailer to the tractor? And he's like, no, they did not show us that in the school. So how the hell do you have a CDL?
Well, I know her instructor's pretty stiff on her and difficult. And she's that's why she could go take the test without even opening a book. Because she's
watching you all the time too, every day. So let's go back. So why do you think that trucking companies fail? And we're not talking about mega carriers, but we're talking about that guy, owner operator, finally got his truck driving for somebody. He goes and he opens an MC. What do you think? Why most of them fail?
Because they don't know their actual operating costs and they take too many loads just to keep moving. Because they think if I take this load just to make this payment, I'm going to be ahead, but you're forgetting all the other costs that you're not taking into account and you're not paying yourself. And eventually money has to go somewhere. And that's why I think they're taking loads too cheap.
And look at this, the first quarter of 2023 official data, 9,000 trucking authorities are actually shattered. And this was just the first quarter. But here's another thing. We go back to 2021 and 2022. The number of new authorities was ridiculously high. We had 116,000 of new authorities. So anybody who had the $300 went and opened MC without even understanding what they're getting themselves into. So That's we have overcapacity of the equipment. Now the market went down, they are struggling. But my biggest thing is with anybody who goes in trucking, I do believe it should be mandatory. And that's what FMCSA should take. That safety and compliance has to be like a test. If you can pass that and you at least understand and maybe like simple financial knowledge, then you can go and apply for MC. Don't you think that it has to be a little bit more than it takes just $300 to go
Yes.
and get that MC?
Yes. And in the Motor Carrier Act of, when was that, Lee? 1999? 1980? 19... They were
Which
ordered
one?
to do just that. FMCSA was ordered to make sure that before people got their authority, that they knew the law, they knew the safety, they knew the regulations. They have not done that. And
That was
that's
Motor
one of
Carrier
the
Act of
things that our
99.
alliance is working on. Okay.
Mm.
So I was right,
Okay,
99.
so here's a question. Can a trucker become a millionaire? Lee, are you
You
a
bet.
millionaire by now?
You bet. You can. If you go by just gross figures and you didn't have any expenses and everything else, you bet you can be a millionaire. I've been a millionaire many times over, probably every 3 or 4 years.
Well, that's not a correct counting, just what you make. It has to be a
No,
clean profit. It has to be a clean profit. Come on, let's not
you
confuse.
can't be a millionaire. Not a single truck operation. You're not going to be a millionaire.
Okay.
Yeah, you
Because
But
can. If you start with 5 million.
yeah, you start with 5, you can get down to $1 million real fast. But no, in this industry, in 3 or 4 years, it doesn't matter what trailer you pull. You should have grossed in 3 or 4 years close to $1 million. But then by the time you take into account all your expenses and fuel and all the taxes and everything you pay, you're going to find out you're a $50,000 a year job.
Okay. So this is just for people who listening to all trucking gurus, because we have the same misrepresentation. If you're gonna become a dispatcher, you're gonna be driving Bentley in 2 months, right? Well, you're not
Yeah.
Bentley in 2 months just by dispatching trucks. What is your intake since we are dispatch training center? Let's go back to that relationship. I know you book your own loads now, but probably within 30 years you had dispatchers. What was the biggest challenges between dispatcher and you as an owner operator or you as a company driver? Can you name us few things which we all need to kind of be aware when we become dispatchers, what to do and not to do?
Me personally, some loads that I do deal with dispatchers or brokers, I would say don't micromanage the driver. I'm from the old generation where we didn't have cell phones, we didn't have pagers. We used to go in and drop an 800 number. I called you in the morning. If I had an issue, I would stop and call you again. Otherwise, if I said I'm going to be somewhere, I'm going to be there. If there's a problem, I will let you know. So I don't like being micromanaged. So that would be the one thing I would say. A lot of drivers don't.
Go back to the rules now. Most of the brokers nowadays, and I'm not talking about exactly you, because as I told you, you have specialty equipment. They don't bother you that much, but still, they say, well, driver has to accept micro tracking. If he is not tracking, we need to make sure that we call you. If they cannot call you, you don't answer, they call dispatcher. So let me ask you this. I am your dispatcher and we book the load and it stay there that you have to accept tracking 100%, or it's going to be short pay, or they can cancel this load, would you cooperate with me as a dispatcher? Or you still going to give me the speech, I am the old school driver, Alex, I do not care?
I don't actually take them loads. I do not have macro point. I don't put them on my phone. You hired me to do a job. It is my load. Well, and I'm saying, no, I will say this way, and this will probably make you upset. Okay, you're the person in the middle. Yeah. But it's my load. If I get in an accident, are they coming after your insurance or my cargo insurance? The minute that load is on my trailer, it is my responsibility. You brokered the load to me, knowing that I'm supposed to be the competent driver. If anything happens to the load, they come after my insurance. They don't go after your insurance. If I get in an accident, they don't go after your insurance. They go after mine. So I'm of the mentality, you're the middle person that brokered the load to me. I accepted the load from you. I'm doing my job.
I guess, Lee, I could never be your dispatcher because we would have big disagreement here.
Right, we do. And that is my mentality because it is my insurance covering it. It's not yours. So
Okay,
it's not
let me
your
go
load.
back. Okay, let me go back. I am a seller or I am a client of the brokerage. I have a high value load, which I would like to make sure I see where it is. And this is my request. For me to hire you, I want to make sure that I see where that high value load is at all the time. I don't care if it's your insurance or not. This is my commodity.
Okay,
Put
you're
a
the
tracker
shipper.
in your load. Put a tracker in your load.
I've hauled loads for NASA that pay $10 million for that piece of equipment on my trailer that I've had to have high value insurance for.
Okay.
I don't have a problem with NASA knowing. NASA's, that's their product. The shipper where I picked it up was in contact with me. The broker was not, because it was the shipper's product and NASA at the other end. Was there communication there? Yes.
Okay. So you never accept ForKites, you never accept MicroTrack, and you never accept any apps?
No, because I am leased to a carrier. I have an ELD in my truck. You want to know where I am? They can look on my ELD where I am.
Okay. So at least, so then whoever you list on, they can actually share that.
They can't share it, but they can. If you called and said, "Where's Lee Schmitt at right now?" they can tell you. But you don't have access to my ELD.
No, of course.
The only person that would be the carrier I'm leased to. And I have done that. I've had where they've said, we need MacroPoint, we need tracking. No, you want to know where I am? I will tell you in the morning. Otherwise, you call the office. They can look up on my ELD and tell you exactly where I am.
Okay. How did you like dealing with the reefers? How is that pulping of the temperature was going? Those cold storages waiting for 4 hours to load, 5 hours to unload.
You don't see me doing that anymore. You don't see me doing that anymore, do you?
I want to see reality. How long did it last?
6 months.
5 months, 6 months. It sucks. You know, they should set up appointments at a certain time. And that is the one thing I hate about that side of the industry. If you want me to be there, it's 2, 3, 4, 5 in the morning, you better start unloading me at 10 minutes after.
Yeah.
You told me to be there. I did my job. You do yours. You start unloading me. If you don't have me unloaded in an hour, you start paying me detention. I am not storage. And that's why I don't haul it anymore.
What about that noise going on, Lisa? How was that bothering you?
The reefer was fine because we have a Dynasis APU on our truck. And go back even further, when I was sleeping alone, I had 2 English Mastiffs sleeping right here, snoring in my ear, and then him snoring in my ear. So he didn't think I would be able to sleep with the Dynasis generator. The Dynasis was no big deal. And the reefer, that was nothing either.
Okay. Well, sounds good. Let's say hi to some of our viewers and let's see if we have any questions. Well, good evening, Alex. It's our student. Let's see. Good evening. We have our stuff. What are they saying there? 20 was please like. Good evening. Any questions? We did share, guys, your CDL for drivers and friends community, so they can go here. There we have students again. Let's see if there are any questions. Okay, here's the thing. Trucking is dying. So do you think that trucking has a future?
Well, we don't know what it looks like. It's changing every day. There's a lot of that. The scary part for me is that the experienced drivers like Lee, like anybody that's driven for more than 20 years, they're retiring early or they're quitting to go local. So you've got the safest, most conscientious drivers leaving the industry. So that scares the hell out of me that my family, my grandkids, my kids are on the roads next to drivers with just a couple of years experience. And the problem now is technology is taking over driving that truck. First, you got the automatic trucks. Now you've got the speed limiters are coming. Now they want automatic electronic braking. So the driver's not even going to have control of his truck anymore. And the problem is those safety advocate groups think that's a good thing. And it might be a good thing for a brand new driver, but it is not a good thing for a driver with 20 and 30 years of experience. They need control of that truck.
Okay. And look at the statistics. So around 90% of those who take up the profession live within the first year. 90%. This is a huge, huge number. Then we have another problem nowadays with the younger generation passing the drug and alcohol testing, right? Well, that's another issue. We have so many people who cannot even pass that. So they cannot, even if they wish to go, but they cannot be on the road. And another thing is, of course, we are coming to what? To those, hopefully, trucks which are going to fly and going to drive themselves. And then they don't care when the appointment is, right? But I don't think it's coming that soon. And we still need to change trucking for the better. Well, this was a pleasure to have you guys. So, Lisa, give us your last kind of word. What should we do to improve trucking for the better? And then we're going to go to the Lee. What do you think? What can we do to make trucking the better industry for everybody? Dispatchers, drivers, everybody.
Education. That is the number one thing. Education. If you're a dispatcher, be the best dispatcher you can be. If you're a truck driver, read that green book, read it, learn the rules. That'll help you at inspections. That'll help you do your job. If you're a shipper, learn about the trucking industry and what they're going through. Education.
So you were the same as me. I do believe that education is locking in trucking industry. I think that we need to step up on all the levels, starting with getting that CDL, starting with dispatchers understanding different types of equipment, operational cost, right? Not just trying to get rid of the truck just to book something, right? Drivers also understand that being a driver, this is a little bit different than running your own company, right? Because now you're in charge of your own, you even have to be organized with the paperwork. You need to make sure you understand what has to be done with all the permits and everything else. So this, I think, hopefully people start investing in their knowledge, and we have a lot of free resources nowadays. Look at the YouTube, look at TikTok, look at you guys with your CDL Unlimited. You have a lot of things there when person can, instead of maybe watching some silly TikTok, spends 10 minutes a day educating themselves on some topic. Just 10 minutes a day. You know, I was reading, if you make a habit, actually it goes to 15 minutes, and this is already proven. 15 minutes a day. And if you're going to keep it for a year, you're going to jump 10 years ahead of anybody else in that industry. And it's only 15 minutes a day. We're not asking for 3 hours. We're not asking for 5 hours. 15 minutes a day, learning something new for your industry. Okay, Lee, going to the big boss. So let's finish it strong. Let's see some leadership. So what do we have to do to change trucking for the better?
I would say the same thing Lisa did. Education. Drivers need to be educated. They need more training. Dispatchers need more training. Shippers, receivers need more training. This could be a real easy industry. It used to be before all this automation, as far as the phones, cell phones, everything got involved in it. This was a good industry, and it's training. It all goes back to training.
Wow, look at this. He has a strong position. Yes, Mr. Lee has a strong position in his opinion. He's not even gonna accept tracking, even if I would be his well, I might have to drive all the way to upstate Wisconsin and make some burgers. Maybe then sometimes, if it's a really good paying load, he's gonna accept that tracking, right, Lisa? If we're gonna be talking about extra 3,000 in profit, maybe we can break his strong opinions, right? Well,
now he'll have you call the office, Alex.
Well, it was a pleasure. Thank you so much for finding the time, sharing your knowledge, sharing your mission, and being a valued, active member in trucking industry. running your show, going, because it takes time, go and being in those shows, even going to Louisville, Kentucky, standing there all day. People think, oh, come on, they just go. Wow, it takes a lot of energy. It takes a lot of effort to go and talk to people and know what you're talking about, right? It's not just for the good looks and for the
Yes.
pictures. It's for the mission. Well, we're gonna say goodbye to you guys, and hopefully when you're gonna be back with your shows, you're gonna invite me back, right?
We will. Thank you
Thank
for
you very
having
much
us.
for having us.
Thank you so much. We'll say you goodbye, and just few seconds one more time, guys. If you're looking to join their mission, you can find the CDL Unlimited. You can be a driver and you can join for $15. If you are friends and family, it is for free. Let's see who is right here. Some of them don't have experience. So we have Lassa is watching how they can drive trucks. We have, hi, Alex, our previous students. Okay, we have Ryan. He was on our show one time. Lee seems like a difficult to work with. Well, every driver has their sides, and that's what dispatchers need to understand. Everybody is different. Everybody is unique. Everybody has a good and a bad day. And you, as a dispatcher, if you want to be a pro, you have to master all the skills. You're going to become their therapist. Sometimes you have to be a good negotiator. See, when you start talking about 2,000-3,000 difference, maybe that tracking is going to be there, right? So dispatchers are the people who can actually improve trucking for the better, who can help owner operators, who can actually calm down that driver, right, Ryan? When Ryan gets pissed and he says, Alex, they're not loading me, well, maybe I'll talk to him extra 5 minutes and we'll get detention. And if he's my company driver, even if they don't pay detention, I will compensate him, right? But if Ryan is going to give me a hard time every day, no excuses, he's not going to do his job, he's not going to keep that paperwork, well, it's going to be time to say goodbye to Ryan. And again, I'm just using this as example. He's very responsible guy. He took our classes for dispatch, but again, went back to trucking because he wanted to continue as a driver, hopefully waiting for the market to change, coming back strong, opening his own company, buying his new equipment, because market is going up and down all the time. But did you hear Lisa and Lee? What advice they gave? Well, they did not tell you different advice. They said education is a must. And that's why most of you are coming to us. And we are so proud that our core business is education. And me personally, I am sharing all my experience, all my knowledge. I am not stopping. I am learning every day with you. And hopefully, I will be the one who will introduce you to trucking as a safety manager, as a safety provider, maybe dispatcher, maybe owner operator who is going to finally open his trucking company. By the way, we just had our webinar on Sunday, and it was blessings because it's a real people. We had people from dispatch class who took the webinar. We had drivers who have the dream to open company, and we were sharing the real reality of the trucking. And that's why I'm very proud that I can change somebody's life through the education, through the knowledge, through my energy, and through my personality. Maybe for some, I am too direct. Maybe for some, I am too pushy. But in the end of the day, I stick to my opinion. I stick to my values. I know what I bring to industry, and I love you all. And I just want to tell you, in life, you can achieve anything if you have a goals. Do not give up. Keep going. And one day, you're going to reach all the stars on that sky. And I will be there to see you shining. Okay, guys? See you soon. Sign up for our next classes.
This is from your sleep, gonna stand with